Welcome back, everybody, to Tactics Ogre Reborn. We're gonna finally do the mission that they talked about earlier in the game. That was sort of it's a difficult mission if you do it right as soon as it unlocks. We're going after the Necromancer Nibelth, or Nibeth. I don't know. We'll say his name eventually, and I'll be like, oh, that was much simpler than I thought it was. But he's a Necromancer. His level's pretty well set in terms of difficulty. So if you come here now, you're going to be overpowered or over-leveled. If you try to fight him when this mission opens up the first time after defeating the other Necromancer apprentice, this is probably going to be a little bit harder of a mission for you, and you're going to want to try to... You're more than likely going to want to try to focus down on Nibeth himself, just so that you can finish the fight quicker, because what he'll do is he'll start summoning more undead. But I'll let him introduce himself. He's sort of interesting to listen to.
Tracked me down, have you? Moldova's gone, then. She harbored a rare appreciation for my research. Sad to see her pass. Though I envy her newfound vicinity to death.
Oh, really?
It is not time to join her company. Perhaps we might come to an understanding. I care not who rules this island. Take it. It's yours. My siege of Almorica was a purely business venture, you see.
You see.
A deal struck with the Hierophant to satisfy my curiosities. And what of
There's
it?
a lot unsaid there in that ...
What's done is done. Let me go free. The alternative... But no. The time it would take to destroy you is that much less time for my research. And I detest inefficiency.
Lay down your arms, and you will come to no harm. But you cannot go free. If you would do penance for your crimes, come to Almorica. I promise your life will be spared. Though, you will be our prisoner and treated no better than you deserve.
I approve. You forsake the chaotic nature of youth for the twin lights of reason and order. Yet I must decline. You may mean well, but there is no shortage of others who would see me hang. Even as I ask why we must fight, I accept the inevitability of the coming battle. Freedom's wage must be paid in full. Denizens of the Abyss, from ink of blackest night I summon you. Darkness to me.
The way he did that summon kind of reminded me of, if you've ever watched the first season of the first Castlevania series, first episode, and Alucard's trying to talk his father Dracula down from summoning undead hell beasts.
An experiment. Let us mix youth,
you know,
with
in order
danger
to get his revenge
and
on humanity for
observe the
killing his
reaction.
wife. It's such a great moment. I probably talked about it before. It's just some great acting, to the point that I watched the first episode of that series, and I was just I slapped my hands together. I said, nope, they're all gonna die. Every single one of them, all gotta die. Everybody's gotta die. Everybody in this whole room right here, everybody you see right now, and mind you, your main characters weren't shown for most of the first episode. You actually meet your actual main character. I think is it Simon? I think it's Simon Belmont. Boy, I'm gonna be wrong about that, I know. Anyways, so you everybody you meet is just some variation of the worst, you know, which of course brings up a whole different conversation about, well, who is truly the monster in this series? Is it you could say yes, it's Dracula. and his literal horde of undead, you know, creatures, monsters, what have you, but in all reality, the answer is it's actually humanity is the real monster. You know, for a combination of reasons. Pride is being a big one. I won't talk much more about that, but you know, he has such a really good like early monologue about, you know, like, you know, there are no innocents. It's like, yeah, technically speaking, there's really it's hard when you're in a big group of people to stand up for what is morally right, you know, when the rest of the crowd mob wants some variation of bloodshed or revenge or justice, or and it's not justice for justice sake, it's justice for I guess keeping the current establishment as is and not interrupting. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but basically, you know, you have a hierarchy in that in a medieval situation where you have a king and the pope sort of at the top of that hierarchy, directly below God, if you will. And then from there, the nobles, or in the case like, you know, cardinals, bishops, and then slowly down to the, you know, priests and lay people, or the, you know, the nobles, the barons, the peasants, you know, slaves in some cases. But yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's a thing of that time where essentially, you know, Dracula's got infinite knowledge. I wouldn't say infinite knowledge, but he's got knowledge of what they call knowledge of the ancients, which allows him to, you know, he dabbles in the sciences, which in the 1400s is like heresy. Or maybe it was earlier than even the 1400s. Heresy, essentially, and you know, you don't do that because that's the dark arts. You know, even though medicine, as we know it now, is just science. You know what I mean? And the ability to do most of what they do in that universe is very much, at least from our current perspective, you would say that, you know, their fears are ignorance and, you know, what they don't know, and, you know, their faith is more important than actually what is not only scientific, as we know it's scientifically correct, but what we would consider morally just. There's an order to it. You don't want to go act outside that order because it threatens the power structure that be, you know. The only people that are allowed to thread that power structure are those that also have power, you know. And even within that power structure, they're even limited based on how well they're able to convince people of their right to that power. I guess I don't really know what to say there. You know, it's complicated. I don't live in a medieval society, so I can't really say. You know, obviously, oh, it must be great to be a duke. You know, except of course,
to steal not only lives,
the very
but the dignity of repose. You fiend! In the name of the great Father Filaha, I condemn you to hell!
Oh dear, not one of those. I find men who go about claiming they speak for gods insufferable.
That also is a Castlevania thing.
The tenacity of your belief is admirable, but truly, deities and demons? Rubbish.
Avaunt, mage!
Yeah.
The holy light that gives me strength is a miracle in truth, as the necromantic heresy you practice is the work of demons.
What you call magic is merely another aspect of physical law, and those who call themselves deities or demons merely flesh.
He skirts the truth here as well when he speaks.
May be lofty and another's heart devilish. Bowing to one of them does not make you pious. It makes you weak. To honor gods and despise demons is to dilute the weight of your words and the import of your actions. A man of your years should have realized this fundamental truth by now.
Enough of this cretin's blasphemy. I was wrong to pay him any heed at all.
One of the things that they say the devil does best is he weaves his lies within truth, things that we can accept as true, or things that perhaps we wish to be true, and we weave them with the lie, the deception, if you will, that leads you down a in the case of good and evil, it leads you down sort of a despicable path, and you have to really watch yourself in that regard. And in some cases, you're when they say the phrase "you're dealing with the devil." In a lot of cases, there's not a super great answer in between those two things. You seek for what is the betterment of yourself, your family, and you try to. But oftentimes, there's not an easy answer, particularly when you're making a difficult life and death decision. It's easy to look back and go, you should have done this instead of that, or this, you should have done more of this and less of that. And in a lot of cases, that's true, and in others, it's as pointless to worry about it as the sun not coming up or setting in the evening. It all naturally occurs, because no matter how well you say take care of your health, you could genetically be prepositioned for heart failure, or say you live a long time, say you live 100 years. Well, at that point, at least by current standards, anything could get you, due to sort of a weakened elderly state. Your body's not as healthy as it was in your 20s or 30s or 40s. So you don't heal as quickly, or you don't bounce back as quickly, or your body doesn't react as quickly. So at that point, even a simple cold could technically get you, though ultimately if you know enough about the human body, your body's always fighting off germs and bacteria constantly. So to say that, an old man, we'll say, or an old woman who's in their, hundreds, suddenly, they got to worry about not washing their hands properly because they get too many germs in themselves, they could die. Well, that is true in regard, but like I said, there's germs everywhere, so your body is, even at 100, fighting those germs off. It's not like your immune system shuts down. It's just at a certain point, if it gets overwhelmed, or there's too much pressure or whatever, it just takes too long for your body to heal, and then ultimately, you're more likely to have that escalate or become sort of like a house of cards or a line of dominoes, where one thing leads to the next, and ultimately, you meet your end. And it's not really anyone's fault other than what we call old age. Now certainly there's a reason for it, because there's always a you don't just go, okay, well, I have lived my life perfectly. I have eaten all the right foods. I've never smoked or drank or done anything wrong that would cause harm to my body. I have given myself just enough sickness to keep myself healthy, that I'm not always sick, you know what I mean? Or I'm doing everything perfectly, perfect in terms of, like imagine the perfect world, perfect person who did everything perfect and made no mistakes whatsoever, even in terms of the fact that a lot of things that we consider bad, your body can handle it. Like if you drink alcohol, your body's designed to filter out the poison, sort of like when you take medicine. You don't want to take too much of the medicine because the medicine can be poisonous, but your body filters it out, So you do everything perfectly, like I said, and then eventually one day you just stop breathing. Why? Because your lungs don't work quite as well as they used to, because they're getting older and they take in less oxygen, which leads to the breakdown of your heart or brain not getting enough oxygen, so the muscles start to weaken, and slowly but surely you just sort of wither away, and at the end of the day your heart stops beating, or you stop breathing, or something happens that causes you to die. Your body shuts down, so there's always a reason for death, but at a certain point you can just sort of go, well, he was old. Inevitably something, inevitably something got you, you stop breathing at some point. Heart stopped beating, You had a traumatic brain injury where you broke your neck, I don't know. Life is difficult when I think about stuff like that. And at the same time, our lives are so full of joy and happiness, We just tend to focus on the evils in this world instead of our joys. And, it's for preservation purposes, I know. If you wake up tomorrow and you eat a yummy breakfast, that your mother or wife or children made for you, out of the goodness of their heart or whatever, that's something to remember. It's something to look back on and be like, wow, that was a wonderful thing that person did. It really brought me joy. But I would say that a lot of people might remember the feeling, forget the act, but you do evil and they'll not only remember the feeling, but they will remember the act as well. And they'll sort of store it in their brains, obviously, for self-preservation purposes, in a hope to prolong their life, if not another hour, another day, another year, But a lot of cases we're not really... we're in control of our own destiny, but there is a certain element of luck into it as well. You happen to bump across the wrong person who's a serial killer, and
I am forced to choose
that's it for you.
retreat
Sorry.
and death. How unexpected. But I am afraid your victory cannot be complete, for there is still vital research to
So
be
he's
done,
going to retreat, and if you go down the chaos path,
Dinner?
I believe
Was
you'll meet him again.
name I shall make a point
I don't
to
know if you can
remember.
recruit him,
When
mind
the war
you,
is lost and won, I feel we will meet again.
but we'll
when we do,
definitely
I will be only too happy to reveal the ripened fruits of my research.
Yeah.
Until then.
All right, we're gonna cut the episode here in just a second. Come back, we're gonna move on to the next mission, which is gonna be headed towards Bamba Musa. So until then, I hope you guys all have a good one.